The last transmission from Xeno Scout Unit 734 was garbled, cut short by what telemetry logs registered as a localized energy event of unconventional signature. But before the static, before the silence, came a final, crystal-clear vocal burst, automatically translated and flagged by Xenolinguistic command as Priority Omega. The words were simple, yet they've sent ripples of consternation and intense study through every sentient species that has encountered humanity, or studied its chaotic, bewildering ascent. Those words, etched now into the warning beacons at the edge of explored human space, are the title of this transmission, this vital briefing for you. Never interrupt a human while they're tinkering. These aren't just the quaint last words of a tragically misinformed alien. They are a profound insight, a stark warning, and paradoxically, a roadmap to unlocking a power so potent within ourselves that even advanced galactic civilizations have learned to tread lightly around it. Today, we dissect this final, fatal observation. We're not just exploring a sci-fi premise. We are peeling back the layers of human psychology, creativity, and raw, untamed potential. We will understand why this warning was issued, what tinkering truly means in the human context, and how you, by embracing and fiercely protecting this innate human drive, can become a force of nature in your own life. Forget gentle self-help. This is about understanding a fundamental, almost primal aspect of what makes us formidable, and then weaponizing it for your own unstoppable growth. The Xeno Scout learned the hard way. We have the privilege of learning from its sacrifice. What exactly is this tinkering that proved so catastrophically fatal to interrupt? To the Xeno Scout, perhaps it looked like inefficient, random manipulation of crude materials. A human, surrounded by what an alien might perceive as junk, muttering to themselves, making strange connections between disparate objects. Driven by no discernible logic the Xeno's advanced understanding could parse. But the Scout missed the inferno beneath the surface. Human tinkering is not idle play. It is not mere hobbyism. It is a state of profound, almost sacred engagement. It's the zone where obsession meets creativity, where the conscious mind wrestles with a problem or a vision so intensely that the external world fades to a distant hum. It's the human brain in its most potent generative state, a crucible of innovation. Picture the archetypal inventor in their chaotic workshop, Edison with his 10,000 failures before the light bulb, Tesla dreaming of wireless energy amidst crackling sparks, a coder lost in lines of logic, an artist transfixed before a canvas, a writer wrestling words into meaning. This is tinkering in its purest form. The visible signs are often misleading. The mess, the disheveled appearance, the disregard for time or even basic sustenance. The Xeno Scout probably cataloged these as signs of primitive disorganization. What it couldn't see, what its scanners couldn't quantify, was the raging storm of cognitive activity within. New neural pathways blazing into existence. Pattern recognition operating at superhuman speed. Intuitive leaps that defy linear explanation. A complete, almost terrifying absorption in the task at hand, to the exclusion of all else. This is the human mind operating at its peak, connecting the seemingly unconnected, driven by an insatiable hunger to understand, to create, to solve, to manifest. It is a state so potent, so focused, that to an outside observer, especially one from a more ordered, perhaps less passionately chaotic species, it might appear almost like a form of madness. A productive madness, a divine frenzy. And into this sacred space, this cognitive forge, blundered the Xeno Scout. Why? We can only speculate. Perhaps it was protocol, observe, document, attempt contact. Perhaps it was simple, unadulterated curiosity, the kind that proverbially kills cats and evidently Xeno Scouts. Maybe it was an attempt to assess threat, to understand if this strange, messy activity posed a danger. Or perhaps, most likely, it was a fundamental underestimation, a failure to comprehend the sheer, volatile intensity of a human mind locked in the act of creation. The interruption itself, what was it? A polite greeting? A demand for attention? A tentative poke at a piece of equipment? The specifics are irrelevant. What matters is the consequence. When a human is deep in this tinkering state, in that profound flow, an interruption isn't just an annoyance. It's a psychic shockwave. It shatters a delicate, intricate construct of thought. It's like throwing a wrench into the gears of a complex, finely tuned engine operating at maximum RPM. The result is rarely graceful. Think about your own, albeit less dramatic, experiences. You're deep in concentration on the verge of a breakthrough and someone barges in with a trivial question. The frustration, the disorientation, the feeling of something precious being irrevocably broken, that's a faint echo of the principle at play. Now amplify that by an order of magnitude. Imagine the tinkerer isn't just balancing their checkbook. They're on the cusp of understanding cold fusion with household items, or accidentally wiring up a miniature black hole generator in their garage, or perhaps just having a truly monumental idea that could reshape their world. The localized energy event of unconventional signature that vaporized Scout Unit 734. What was it? Did the human, startled from their reverie, reflexively activate a half-finished device of unimaginable power? Did the interruption cause a critical cascade failure in a delicate experiment, unleashing forces the human themselves barely understood, but was, in that moment, attempting to control? Or was it something more primal? The raw, explosive fury of a creative mind, pushed beyond its limit, its sanctum violated. The Xeno scout didn't report. We only have the warning. Never interrupt a human while they're tinkering. These last words are a testament to a profound misjudgment. The Xeno likely saw a primitive, perhaps even amusing display. It encountered a supernova of focused intent. The warning, transmitted across the stars, is not just about physical danger. It's about a dawning, horrified respect for a capacity the Xenos themselves perhaps lacked, or had evolved beyond, or simply never encountered in such a raw, unpredictable form. It's a recognition that within this seemingly chaotic tinkering lies a spark of the divine, a shard of the power that shapes universes. And for us, for humanity, this Xeno's epitaph is a blazing signpost pointing directly towards our own most formidable, and often most neglected, strength. So let's bring this home. The Xeno perspective is a fascinating lens, but the real power of this warning, never interrupt a human while they're tinkering, lies in what it tells us about ourselves, and how we can harness this incredible, almost dangerous internal force. This drive to tinker, to experiment, to build, to solve, it's not some modern affectation. It's primal. It's written into our DNA. It's the evolutionary engine that took us from chipping flint for tools to reaching for the stars. From the first controlled fire to the complexities of the internet, it was all born from this relentless, curious, often obsessive desire to understand the world and reshape it to our will, or at least to our current, pressing needs. There's a profound, deep-seated satisfaction that comes from this process, a fulfillment that passive consumption can never replicate. We are, at our core, creators, problem-solvers. We are tinkerers. Yet look at modern society. It often seems designed to wage war on this very instinct. We live in an economy of distraction, a culture of instant gratification. Our attention is fractured, sold to the highest bidder. Deep work, the kind of immersive focus required for true tinkering, is increasingly a luxury, almost an act of rebellion. We are told to multitask, to be constantly available, to skim surfaces. The brutal truth is, we are systematically taught to sabotage the very state of mind that leads to our greatest breakthroughs and deepest satisfaction. We have become our own worst interrupters, our own Xeno scouts, blundering into the delicate machinery of our own potential with the demands of the trivial. This is why the concept of the sanctity of the forge, your mental workshop, your tinkering space, is not just important, it's non-negotiable if you seek to achieve anything of substance. The cognitive cost of context switching is immense. Every time your focus is broken, every time you're pulled away from that deep engagement, you don't just pick up where you left off. You have to rebuild the mental scaffolding, reignite the creative fire. Momentum is lost. Insights dissipate. The delicate threads of connection are severed. The brutal, unvarnished truth is this: you are not successfully multitasking your way to genius. You are not building your empire in stolen 5-minute increments between notifications. You are fragmenting your power, bleeding your potential away in 1,000 tiny cuts. Protecting your tinkering time, that period of deep, uninterrupted focus, isn't selfish. It's a sacred duty to your own potential, to the unique value you are here to create. Think of the focused scientist who demands solitude, the artist who locks their studio door, the entrepreneur who goes off-grid to strategize and build. They are not being antisocial. They are honoring the gods of creation. They understand, implicitly or explicitly, the Xeno's final warning. What are the characteristics of this tinkering mindset, this state we must cultivate and defend? First, there's obsessive curiosity. This isn't just a mild interest. It's a burning need to know, to understand how things work, to pull them apart and put them back together, often in new and unexpected ways. It's the what-if question taken to its extreme. The tinkerer doesn't just accept the surface. They dig, they probe, they question relentlessly until the underlying mechanisms are laid bare or a new possibility emerges. Second, radical persistence. The path of the tinkerer is paved with failure, frustration, and setbacks. Things rarely work the first time or the 100th. Where others see dead ends, the tinkerer sees data. They see stepping stones. They embody that stoic resilience, understanding that obstacles are not the end of the road, but part of the road. They don't just tolerate failure. They learn from it, adapt, and press on with a tenacity that can seem irrational to the uninitiated. This is where true mental toughness is forged, in the fires of repeated attempts and iterative improvements. Third, improvisational genius. Tinkering often involves making do with what's at hand. It's about seeing new uses for old things, connecting disparate ideas in novel ways, finding unconventional solutions when conventional ones fail. It's the art of the bricolage, creating something valuable from a seemingly random collection of resources. This requires mental flexibility, an openness to the unexpected, and a willingness to experiment without a guaranteed outcome. This is where innovation truly sparks. Fourth, often, a healthy disregard for convention. Tinkerers are not always rule followers, especially if the rules seem arbitrary or obstructive to their goals. They are willing to challenge assumptions, to try the unorthodox, to venture into uncharted territory. This is not rebellion for rebellion's sake, but a pragmatic understanding that breakthroughs often lie just outside the boundaries of accepted wisdom. This is the aspect that might most unnerve an orderly Xeno, the apparent chaos that breeds unpredictable results. And finally, energy mastery. Sustaining the intense focus required for deep tinkering isn't just about raw discipline, though that plays a part. It's about tapping into intrinsic motivation, genuine passion, and the energizing power of being in a state of flow. When you are truly engaged in something that fascinates you, something you feel compelled to work on, energy becomes almost a byproduct. You find reserves you didn't know you had. This is the positive feedback loop. Focus leads to progress, progress fuels passion, passion sustains focus. These are not superhuman traits. They are latent within all of us. They are the hallmarks of the human spirit at its most engaged and creative. The Xeno scout didn't understand this. It saw only the surface. We must look deeper within ourselves and awaken these sleeping giants. Now let's move from the theoretical to the intensely practical. How do you harness this tinkering force in your own life? How do you transform this understanding into tangible results, into an unstoppable momentum towards your goals? This is where the Xeno's warning becomes a powerful catalyst for personal transformation. First, you must identify your tinkering grounds. What are you building? This is critical. Tinkering isn't aimless fidgeting. It requires a subject, a project, a problem to wrestle with. And it's not just about physical inventions, not just for engineers or artists in the traditional sense. You can tinker with a business idea until it becomes a thriving enterprise. You can tinker with your physical fitness, experimenting with routines and nutrition until you sculpt the physique and vitality you desire. You can tinker with a complex skill, deconstructing it, practicing its components until mastery is achieved. You can even tinker with your own mindset, challenging limiting beliefs, installing new habits of thought, forging an unbreakable mental fortitude. The brutal truth is, if you don't have a project, a thing you are deeply engrossed in improving or creating, a significant portion of your human potential is lying dormant. You are denying yourself one of the most profound sources of fulfillment and power. So the first action, define your current tinkering project. What is that one thing, or perhaps a few key things, that you are committed to shaping, building, or solving with focused, obsessive attention? If the answer is nothing, then your urgent tinkering project is to find one. This isn't a suggestion, it's an imperative for a life of impact. Once you have your tinkering grounds, the next, and perhaps most challenging step is to forge your shield, defending against the interruption invasion. The Xeno scout was an external threat. Most of the interruptions we face are more insidious, often self-inflicted or passively allowed. This is where brutal honesty and assertive action are paramount. This involves time blocking and deep work rituals. You must consciously, deliberately carve out sacred, uninterrupted blocks of time for your tinkering. Schedule them as you would your most important appointments, and create rituals that signal to your brain and to others that you are entering this focused state. This could be a specific location, a particular type of music or silence, a pre-work routine. These rituals build the pathway into deep focus. Then, environmental control. Your tinkering space, whether physical or digital, must be a fortress against distraction. This means silencing notifications, yes, all of them. It means decluttering your workspace to minimize visual noise. It means, crucially, managing human interruptions, the non-Xeno kind, which can be just as detrimental. This is where so many falter, fearing they'll appear rude or unavailable. Which leads to communicating boundaries. This is a non-negotiable skill for anyone serious about deep work. You must be able to assertively, respectfully, but firmly communicate to family, colleagues, and friends that during your tinkering time, you are not to be disturbed barring genuine emergencies. I am working on something important that requires my full concentration for the next 2 hours. I'll be available after that. This is not rudeness. It is the self-preservation of your most potent creative state. It is you taking the Xeno's warning seriously on a personal level. And here's another brutal truth. If you don't fiercely defend your focus, the world will steal it without a second thought, and you will have no one to blame but yourself. No one else will prioritize your deep work for you. They have their own agendas, their own demands. You must be the guardian at the gate of your own mind. This is an act of profound self-respect. As you cultivate and protect this tinkering state, You will begin to experience what I call the constructive danger of your own potential. When you are truly, deeply engaged in your life's most important projects, when you are tinkering with focused intensity, you become more potent. You achieve more. You radiate a different kind of energy, one of purpose, of capability, of quiet power. This can be unsettling, even intimidating, to those who were comfortable with a less driven, less focused version of you. It can even be unsettling to your old self, your old comfort zones. Embrace this. The Xeno scout's fear, its fatal miscalculation, was a reaction to encountering raw, unexpected, and perhaps dangerous capability. Let your own growth, your own focused output, scare away mediocrity, both in your environment and within yourself. The danger you cultivate is not a threat to others, but a threat to your old limitations, a threat to procrastination, a threat to the status quo that seeks to keep you small and distracted. This is the positive, generative danger of a human being actualizing their potential. Finally, let us draw some lessons from the Xeno's demise, what we swear not to do to ourselves. The Xeno scout serves as a perfect negative example. First, don't be the Xeno to your own process. How often do we interrupt our own flow with self-doubt? How often do we derail our own tinkering sessions with the lure of social media, or a sudden urge to check email, or by allowing negative thoughts to sabotage our concentration? Recognize these internal interruptions for what they are. Acts of self-sabotage, as damaging as any external Xeno. You must learn to observe these urges and let them pass, gently but firmly redirecting your focus back to the task at hand. This is a core Stoic practice, managing your internal state. Second, recognize and nurture the early signs of tinkering success. Don't question or shut them down prematurely. Sometimes the process of creation is messy. Ideas might seem half-baked. Early attempts might be clumsy. The workshop of your mind or your project might look chaotic. This is normal. The Xeno saw chaos and misinterpreted it. We must learn to see the stirrings of innovation in the mess, the intensity, the small breakthroughs. Nurture them. Give them space to breathe and develop. Don't demand perfection from an embryonic idea or a nascent skill. Third, value the process, not just the coveted outcome. The Xeno likely only registered the end result or the dangerously volatile part of the process. For us as conscious tinkerers, the journey itself is rich with learning, growth, and satisfaction. The hours spent wrestling with a problem, the small epiphanies, the skills honed through repetition, these are as valuable, if not more so, than the final product. Fall in love with the act of tinkering, and the outcomes will take care of themselves. The final transmission of Xeno Scout Unit 734, never interrupt a human while they're tinkering, echoes across the void not merely as a quirky piece of alien lore, but as a profound, universal truth about the human condition. It's a testament to the explosive power that resides within focused, passionate human endeavor. It's a warning to those who would underestimate us, but more importantly, it's a powerful reminder to ourselves of the incredible capacity we each possess when we dare to engage deeply with the world and with our own potential. This isn't just about avoiding a hypothetical alien's fate. It's about understanding a fundamental law of creation, of achievement, of personal evolution. The tinkering state is where you meet your own genius. It's where you wrestle with challenges and emerge stronger, more capable. It's where you build not just things, but your character, your resilience, your legacy. So the call to action is clear, it is stark, it is urgent. Become the tinkerer in your own life. Identify those projects, those skills, those areas of growth that ignite your obsessive curiosity and demand your deepest focus. Carve out the time. Build your fortress against distraction. Defend that sacred space with the ferocity of a mother bear protecting her cubs, because what you are protecting is the very essence of your potential. Do not be gentle with your distractions. Do not apologize for your focus. Do not allow the trivial to usurp the vital. The Xenos, in their unfortunate encounter, stumbled upon a truth about us that we too often forget or neglect. That when a human being is truly immersed, truly tinkering with purpose and passion, they tap into a power that can, quite literally, reshape reality. They might fear it. Outsiders might misunderstand it. But for you, this tinkering instinct, this capacity for profound, uninterrupted focus is your greatest gift. It is your engine of progress. It is your personal key to building an unstoppable life, a life of meaning, mastery, and significant achievement. The Xeno Scout paid the ultimate price for its interruption. Let its final words not be a forgotten warning, but your daily mantra. Go forth, find your forge, and let no one and nothing, especially not your own weaker impulses, interrupt you while you are tinkering your way to the extraordinary. Unleash that power. The world is waiting for what only you can create.